right, many times we're so focused on learning a specific trick that we forget there's a process that needs to be applied. Instead of focusing too much on the goal, we want to understand that there's a process needed so that we can reach our goal, and other goals we might be losing the opportunity to obtain because we're so fixated on the end result when we're supposed to be fixated or a bit more involved with the process. And so a way you can approach learning, so this can be applied to learning a flat ground trick, a trick on an obstacle, or just being an overall better skater. I want you to keep these 3 words in mind. You can think about it as 3 steps. First one being you want to be able to observe what you're doing. Second, after you observe, you want to seek some understanding, and following the understanding, you want to make sure that you're applying what you understand needs to be iterated on. And so, for example, that fakie frontside or fakie frontside flip, fakie backside flip, whatever you call it, I'm still confused on that. You want to make sure you aren't just getting frustrated that you aren't landing on your board. You want to understand, why is it that I landed a bit too heavy on the front leg? Why is it that my board didn't rotate? And why is it that my board flipped all the way, but I still wasn't confident enough to actually stick it and land it? Now, these are all things that I've observed throughout the years, or even sessions I've gone about, attempting this trick. But it doesn't mean you need to observe so many factors and, think about how to understand them all at once. It's choosing one by one so that you can slowly build that understanding, or else it's going to be super overwhelming. You're going to get into a frustrated fight or flight, very tense state, which you want to avoid, especially when you're learning, right? You want your learning to be absorbed by you, so that you can apply this understanding as you go about those iterations. Once I've observed one thing, remember, at a time, this one being why didn't it go all the way, I can seek to understand that observation. It takes some humility and a lack of judgment on yourself to understand. You simply need to see what's happening. We want to simply be super objective. And so, in other words, it didn't rotate all the way. The understanding after that comes through asking questions. Okay, why didn't it rotate? Was it because I'm going too fast, that I'm a little uncomfortable with that speed? Was it because I simply didn't get a good pop? Was it because my back foot wasn't in the right position? Right? But again, you just want to focus on one thing. So today, or so on this attempt, I'm going to focus on if I can adjust my back foot so that it can give me better leverage on completing that full 180 rotation. Once I observe that it didn't rotate all the way, then I seek the understanding, realize that it may be because of my back foot, and attempt that, iterate on that. Then I seek to apply it, right? And these things can be happening as you continue tricks. But another important thing that I mentioned in other videos as well is you want to make sure you're in a relatively calm state. Not calm as in like you're slow, but you're calm as in you're able to breathe and give yourself time to observe, to understand, and to apply. And so right now, this is more than enough time as I'm talking to you. And so on this next attempt, if you want to follow me, on this next attempt, I'm just gonna, again, only focus on applying one thing, which is making sure that back foot is in a spot where I can, leverage the 180 without really forcing the rotation of the top half. And so I'm gonna think about, because of previous knowledge, placing my back foot on a little closer to the heel side. So it's still very in the center, but a little closer to the heel side, so that when I pop, I let my front foot come off. It naturally wants to spin. So I'm gonna attempt that. I'm going to apply it, right? After I asked the questions and I understood the task at hand a bit more. You all saw that it rotated a bit more effortlessly. The pop was so much more effective, and I even felt a little more control. I didn't rush. I didn't like go running forward. I didn't try to go so fast. You know, I took some steps back, so I can improve upon one factor I noticed that I needed to fix, which was rotate. So I wasn't thinking, let me continue this with speed. Instead, I was like, let me take steps back and just focus on where that back foot is, so I can accomplish the full rotation. Now, it doesn't mean that as soon as you observe something, as soon as you understand what's happening, that the application is gonna become so much, it's gonna find itself, or you're gonna feel it. But it's a process that might take, you know, one try, or it might take 1,000 tries. But it's something that you have to be patient with, or else you're going to always be finding yourself overwhelmed with the idea that you aren't learning. But the fact is, learning doesn't only happen when you land the trick. It's happening as you're getting yourself to that goal, which is landing, in my case, this fakie frontside flip. And I'm taking steps back, going slower, and just focusing on getting a good pop. Okay. Okay. You can see I kind of went to my back foot. Now that's another observation I have, right? So the understanding comes from the question, simple. It can start with the simple question of, why did I land heavy on my back foot instead of centering myself, instead of landing over the lead foot, which is my left on the land? Was that because I didn't really jump up, and instead I was heavy on this back foot or on the flick foot? Was it because I was going too slow? Was it because I felt a little, I didn't feel like I had enough space because I'm getting filmed, you know, in this case? What was that? So I'm seeking that understanding. As I seek that understanding, I can answer those questions. So I can give myself more space from the filmer. I can make sure that I'm a little more leveled over the popping foot, the lead foot, when I'm going. And I can seek that understanding with iterations. So as you understand, you can also apply yourself by answering those questions that are presenting itself with the want to understand. Right? Stay over the lead foot. Okay. So now I noticed that in the attempt to slow things down, I hesitated with my movement, and so on this one, what I want to understand is if a more reactive movement pattern is going to help me, you know, in this attempt, because that one the board kind of left me. So the application is just make it feel a little more fluid, a little more in sync, and see how that, you know, application helps me, you know, learn this trick or land this trick. Okay. So on that one, I felt like I might have experienced some fatigue because the pop stopped itself. And so that's something you'll notice as you apply this process, is that as you observe things, it's not going to stay with the same group of observations you started with. You're always going to be, you know, finding new things that are presenting itself, and that's not a bad thing, right? See it as a sign that you're getting closer to landing that trick. And so I'm going to apply all the things that I'm seeking understanding to, which is making sure that back foot is here to leverage rotation, making sure it's one fluid motion, and giving myself space so that I feel comfortable enough staying over that lead foot. That was so bad. That one, I think it was just a complete hiccup. But we'll see. Wow. Yeah, I'm out of it. So, I landed it, not the best way, but as I said, I might have observed something else with that land, but that's okay. More pieces to the puzzle. more observations that allow me to understand this trick a bit more. And eventually, as I apply as I apply myself, answer questions to improve my understanding, learning this trick is going to become so much more effective because I have a better sense of what it means to actually land it, right? And not just land it, like I've mentioned in many other videos. It's one thing to land the trick, it's another thing to learn it. And so we want to learn it on top of the initial first land, right? So here we go, learning this trick. The board stayed behind me. Why did it stay behind me? Did I tip over a bit too prematurely? I'm gonna apply that, answer that question right here. Okay, I landed the trick. I'm learning it. Something that I've observed there is when I landed, I felt a little unstable. And so seeking the understanding there would be, how did I feel when I started off? Did I feel a bit too rushed? These are questions I'm gonna ask to seek understanding, but your questions may look different depending on what trick you're trying or how long you've been going about this process with any specific trick. This is a continuous process. It's a continuous loop. It doesn't end and it doesn't start. It might feel like that because your mind isn't with skateboarding, but as soon as you get back on the skateboarding, the loop continues. Okay, so it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing loop. So I find myself staying heavy on that back foot. I think it's because my attention is on that back foot instead of on that flick foot, which is the back foot, instead of allowing myself to open up to the direction I'm going. So here, I'm going to apply that and see if it allows me to learn the trick a bit more effectively. That one actually felt better. I disengaged right there. As you go about understanding a trick, you are going to be able to recognize these patterns, these observations. In other words, you are going to be able to point out these patterns, these observations so much more faster, and allow that to also be a sign that you are learning this trick instead of a reason to get frustrated. There's always ways to get better at a trick. So that one felt great, but I understand there's always more to the puzzle so that I can get better every time I apply this process. Be hyped on your accomplishment, be hyped on the little wins, or be hyped on the wins as you apply yourself, but understand there's always room to improve, and there's always this ongoing process happening of observing something, understanding it, and then applying yourself to get a better sense of what is needed, so that you invite the process of learning instead of take yourself away from the opportunity of growing as a skateboarder, and making sure you keep a more abundant mindset of what there is to learn. You want to be able to have an abundant mindset when it comes to skateboarding, because many times we compare ourselves, or we easily get ourselves frustrated and discourage ourselves from continuing that process. And so in order to avoid that discouragement, that comparison, you want to look within, practice being a bit more intuitive through this process of observation, understanding, and applying, so that you are always inviting the process of learning and by default growing as a skateboarder. So if you have questions on any of this, feel free to leave a comment, ask questions. There's memberships, there's coaching and lessons available. If you're interested in that, you can hit me up at profe.carlos and we can talk about what that may look like for you. If you're interested in a trick review or some feedback on your skateboarding, you can also send some videos or send a message to my Instagram, or Memberships are also a very helpful place for me to connect with you guys and give you that feedback in real time. So check those things out. So check out the memberships if you haven't already. There is going to be so much more videos like this. So I appreciate the comments coming in, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys on the live, in the comments, and in future videos that you will see here soon. Oh wait, I like that. That's what I do, huh? One last trick, We go that way or what? Backside flip? Okay, bye.
Wait, thumbnail.
I think that was it.
Yeah. Or you know what? I need to probably be right here.